He was local, but he was international and cosmopolitan. He was intellectual, and he was a people person. And that wide set of interests enabled him to relate to people from all walks of life. John grew up in an ethnic neighborhood in Little Italy. From that beginning, he went to Princeton and then graduated from Yale Law School. After Yale Law School, he was part of what I would call the best and the brightest. Went down to Washington and served under Lindsay. He was a combination of so many excellent qualities, which all became important during the New York City bankruptcy when he was the first deputy mayor. And he was the key to it. It was his critical role to bring everyone together and get New York through its most perilous hour. John's most important legacy was the need for government and the private sector to work together for, in that case, survival, but for maximum benefit over time.
I was asked to talk about public-private partnerships. It's one of those neat words that defies definition.
The essence of what people can learn from John's life and experiences and accomplishments is that when you have a person who both has high horsepower intellectually and a great natural feel and interest in people, combine that with integrity and vision, and you get great results. Now, those qualities are not that easy to find. You get someone as extraordinary as John once in every generation or two. I'm not sure that people can replicate what he did, but they can certainly be guided and aspire to it. I'm particularly delighted that Susan Zuccotti, John's widow, could be with us for this event and this celebration of John's life and of our new recipient of the Zuccotti Prize.
Well, that video tells John's story better than any introduction that I can give. But what it doesn't show is John's connection to the RPA and what John meant to me personally. John was a long-serving member of the RPA Board of Directors and Executive Committee. He guided RPA's work in adding PATH train access to Newark Airport, promoting redevelopment and public sector improvements around gateway communities, and perhaps most notably, investing in Trans-Hudson connections. Thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure bill, John's dream is now coming to fruition in the newly funded Gateway project, being so ably steered by Chris Calori. Where's Chris? John occupied a special place in my life. I know if he had been here today, many of you would have rushed over to shake his hand and exchange a few words about the city, the future of our city, the country, and the world. Or perhaps you'd chat about children, careers, fishing, or maybe a good wine, an interest he and I shared. John was a modest man of rock-solid integrity. He didn't care about credit, but he did care about getting things done. John was my hero, and the award that bears his name today is going to another hero, Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. On March 26th, a cargo ship leaving the port of Baltimore rammed the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Within seconds, the bridge collapsed. As one of the largest container ports in the country, that wasn't just a local problem, it was a national problem. It was also Wes Moore's first major test during his first term as governor. He was in Boston when he got the call shortly after 1:30 a.m. On less than 3 hours sleep, he was on the phone with Secretary Buttigieg and declared a state of emergency. Near-empty JetBlue flight took him back to Baltimore. When the president asked him what he needed, he was ready with clear answers and plans. And he's been as steadfast ever since. A Phi Beta Kappa graduate of Johns Hopkins, a Rhodes Scholar, a U.S. Army captain, an Afghanistan combat veteran, and one-time small business owner, Wes Moore was CEO of the Robin Hood Foundation before he ran for governor. There he oversaw the distribution of $600 million to lift families out of poverty. He took that experience with him as governor, and it informed his ambitions to revitalize his state's economy. One element of his plan was a statewide service year to create valuable experience and a pathway to college affordability for all high school graduates. As a longtime advocate of universal national service, that caught my attention. I share with the governor his view of public service as both an opportunity and a uniter. I applaud him for having created a model for the country, and I, for one, stand ready to help. A key part of his plan is transportation. Maryland was home to the first railroad and the first national highway in the U.S. And if you count a balloon piloted by a 13-year-old boy in 1784, that state is also the home of the first nation's first air flight. Maryland has always viewed transportation as an economic engine to lift people out of poverty. With a recent DOT award of $7 billion for improved rail service, Wes Moore is keeping up that tradition. And he's making sure that efforts to improve mass transit focus on the people who rely on it the most. Here's how. Take the politics out of planning, ensure value-based project funding, implement procurement reform. As a former chair of the New York State Thruway Authority, I can tell you that's music to my ears, because that's exactly what we tried to do during my tenure there. Now I'd like to come full circle and return to my dear friend John Zuccotti. He would have appreciated the parallels between him and Governor Moore. Both came from humble beginnings, went to elite schools, and did well by doing good. Both took a regional approach to the local economy. Both cared less about credit and more about getting things done. Both are champions of the unheard. Governor Moore once said, "Every room you're in, you were there because that room would be incomplete if you weren't there." As for John, he was in the room where everything happened. If he was there, that's the room you'd want to be in. Governor Moore, we all want to be in the room with you, and we're glad that the room in which it's happening is this room with the RPA.
Thank you again so much. Thanks so much for being here.
Governor, come on in. We need a picture.
Yeah, we gotta get a picture. You're in the middle.
You're in the middle. Come on in.
Here, this is a map from the first regional plan.